Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you as well.
For the uninitiated, explain a little bit about how you come into play in this season of Vikings, because it is a little bit of a jump here.
Yeah, so there's a time jump, and basically when you first see myself in the show, Bjorn has grown up into a young man, and he's had to make some pretty big decisions, and he's caught in the middle of this tension between his mother and his father. And this whole season is really about Bjorn finding himself and finding out what he wants to stand for and what he wants in his life. And he misses a father figure in his life, and he really wants to get back on track.
And we really learn even before you appear that you've got a momentous journey ahead of you.
Oh yeah,
I guess you could say.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, well that was definitely foreshadowing. Bjorn was a real person, and historically Bjorn Ironside went to go do some great stuff, and without spoiling too much, Bjorn was nicknamed Bjorn Ironside because he was an incredible fighter, and everyone thought he was protected by the gods because he couldn't be touched. So he definitely has a large future ahead of him.
That's, as an actor jumping in a role like this,
it's amazing.
When someone offers this to you, you're like, what
I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll be the coolest Viking ever. It was an amazing opportunity. I'm working with some spectacular English actors, and just we have a very great cast. And everyone from behind the scenes has been spectacular. So it's been an amazing opportunity.
So what do you do to prepare for a role like this? Because it's pretty big.
Yeah.
Or the arc is big at the very least.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it absolutely is. I had countless meetings with our writer Michael Hurst to see where the character was going to go and what his plans were for Bjorn. And he basically just told me to get ready for a wild ride. So I was beyond excited about that. And then lots of working with dialect coaches.
Right.
Because basically what's interesting about this is nobody really knows how Vikings sounded. So there's a lot of room to play there. However, history by no means took the high road or took an easy route. Basically what they did was they got a bunch of historians together, and they did their due diligence and lots of research to find out exactly what they would have sounded like. And they basically found the edge of one civilization, how they would have spoken, and the edge of another. And the Vikings are in the middle. So what they did is they kind of combined the two to give the most realistic interpretation of what they would have sounded like.
Well, and I love that you're working with other Canadians.
Great, yeah.
What's it been like working with that team as well, the international team in addition?
It's lovely and it's wonderful. I mean, they open you with open arms as you would expect us, our fellow Canadians to, and it's great. It's a show that's really been. Just accepted and loved everywhere. I haven't heard one person say one bad thing about it, and critically it's done so well, and we really just hope the success continues, and we're having such a great time. We're all just one big family. Do
you ever, I've heard the kind of pinch me kind of attitude about being on set because it's such a realistic set.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it takes no effort once you get onto set to pretend you're in this world, because you literally are in the world.
Right.
It's amazing, and I'll never forget, I sat down with Michael Hurst and one of our historians named Justin. His name's Justin, and he is literally your typical English historian.
Wow.
And he was telling me, after a few bottles of wine, and we were sitting there talking about what's going to happen to Bjorn, and he was telling me about how he thought the sets were. And he was like, "Oh, Alexander," he's like, "this is my dream come true." He's like, I listened to your battle scenes and that's what they sounded like. He's like, and I walk around here, and that's what it looked like. And I was just like, oh my God, he's literally your typical historian, but he was beyond excited. He was like a kid at Christmas, and it's true though. It is such it's such a great opportunity for me to learn as well, and everyone to learn, because that's exactly how they live their life.
Right.
It's a very true interpretation.
Well, and from my interviews in first season too, it's interesting that, we talked about the fact that most people don't really look at Vikings. I mean, it might be changing now with the show, but they didn't look at Vikings in maybe the right light years ago.
Absolutely.
You picture the guy with the horns and...
Exactly, yeah. You have this very stereotypical image. And I think that's why a lot of people connect with the show as well, is it's...
Right.
Everyone has this stereotypical view of what Vikings were like. They go, they rape and pillage and blah, blah, blah. And obviously that all happened. But this show is so interesting because it really gives you a look from their perspective. And, they believed in their own gods, and they went west, and they go into this thing called the church, and they take all this gold because nobody's protecting it. Right. Obviously, they're going to do that. So it's very interesting. I think that's why people are really loving the show, and more importantly, one thing I love about this show is, for such an animalistic society in so many ways, they were really progressive.
Right.
In that they respected their women. You know, unless you were a slave, then you were kind of screwed. But
right.
if you were a woman Viking, you could become a shield maiden and fight alongside your fellow Vikings. And I think that's so cool. And I think that's why a lot of girls as well are loving this show, because there's so many badass women characters.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be like that. Like, we're kind of no more damsel in distress stuff. Like, these are kick-ass girls, and I love that.
Well, in terms of kicking ass, did you get any notes from anyone else in the show going into, you know, preparing for this role?
I kind of just, you know, I went in, you know, basically just full steam ahead, and I just wanted to be as rough and gritty as I possibly could right off the bat. So I think they knew right away that I was definitely in that mindset. Travis and I would wrestle when offset on a daily basis just to get into that father and son kind of rivalry, and it was really fun. And yeah, it's just, I mean, it's been amazing.
How did you prepare? Like, in terms of the physical side?
Well, it's funny. I actually just finished filming Lone Survivor, which we were really happy with. And I had to put on like 30 pounds of muscle, and that's something I wanted to do to really portray the character I was playing accordingly. And I wanted it to be realistic. So I'd already put on 30 pounds of muscle. I'm not usually a huge guy. I like being a slender guy, but it's funny that publicly I might look like that right now, because lately I've had to put on so much weight for roles.
Right.
But so I put on a lot of weight. So I was basically, if anything, trying to lose more weight for the role, just because I didn't want to be huge.
Right.
And I did. So you're going to see a little bit of that at the start, but I slowly am getting back down to myself, and now I feel I'm almost there. Yeah, it's a long way.
Did they give you fight training though too, or?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, luckily I've done a bit of that before from films like The Hunger Games. But one thing again I love about Vikings, and one thing I think the fans really love, is it's very gritty and edgy and raw and real. So it's like, as opposed to this Hollywood and glamorized fighting, it's raw and gritty, and it's like, what's the quickest way I'm going to kill this guy? I'm going to do it. So we have. But then again, you know, so we do our due diligence in that we have these huge fight scenes choreographed, and everyone has to know what they're doing. It's like this big dance. So in that aspect, I did do a lot of training. When it came to how to wield an axe and a shield, it's pretty self-explanatory. You just got to do it yourself, and once the director says action, it's a shit show. And everyone just whatever comes out, try not to get hit. And I can't even tell you how many times we got hit.
Wow.
Yeah, so, but it was...
Bruises, in other words?
You're bleeding by the end of the day.
Wow.
I mean, from everywhere.
So the amount of blood in the face might not just be fake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Did you, I mean, how long does it take to do a scene like that when there's this huge war? Huge battles?
It depends how big the battle is, but about 4 to 5 days. One thing I love about the battle scenes is they all tell a story, and they all serve a purpose. And I think that's what a great show does, is every scene serves a purpose. No matter how minute the detail is, you know, or how insignificant that purpose might be compared to others, it's still there, and it's still important to show. So these battle scenes aren't just out of nowhere. They all serve a purpose, which I love.
So I guess the last thing I'd like to know is, you know, over the arc of this series, you know, what do you hope that you get to bring to this role? What would you like to bring out about this guy?
I think one thing that's super interesting about Bjorn is, I think especially compared to everyone else, he's a very sincere and intense individual. He loves intensely, he fights intensely. He's a very intense person. But but he keeps his emotions in as much as he can. I'd like to show that, and I think it does come across immediately. But I think that's why he became such a legend, is that at a young age he was able to command a huge audience, because when Bjorn smiled, it meant something, because he rarely did, and he was very genuine that way. So I'd like to show more of that, and it's nice playing a really good guy with some flaws, because I think it's important to show that everyone's just human, and that's kind of our show. There's no perfect hero or anything. Everyone's flawed in a way. So it's good. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here.
Cool. Well, good luck. Congratulations.
Great meeting you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.